I'm Ray.
I'm Candace.
Welcome to Unpacking Coffee. This week,
Camber out of Bellingham, Washington.
Camber Coffee. Camber Coffee.
you're joining us in episode 69 of our semi-regular podcast video series. How about just a show? Last week we covered Metric. You should go check that out.
Metric is from Chicago, but we actually drove up to Seattle to interview them. We were just a stone's throw south of Bellingham.
Camber is a third-wave microroaster.
And we found out about them, I think last year we saw them at Barista here in Portland.
I was struck by their packaging, which is why I think I originally picked up, just because it looked more like a wine bottle.
I'm David Yake. I'm one of the founders of Camber Coffee. We started the company late 2015. We'd been working on it for a long time before that. It was started by Andrew Bowman, Todd Elliott, and myself, and we all had worked together at Tony's Coffee, which is like a small family-owned coffee company, kind of second wave, based in Bellingham as well.
So the three founders worked together at Tony's Coffee. There was an incredible amount of support from Tony's, which I think is a pretty amazing thing.
Todd is actually the second generation owner of Tony's Coffee. Andrew was like green coffee buyer roaster for 10 plus years, worked in restaurants before that. I have been in coffee forever. Started as a barista and mostly these days work on the wholesale side of things. Andrew and I had been talking about different concepts forever, restaurant, roastery, you name it. We've just always been a really close team, and so we ultimately decided to partner up with Todd and launch this thing. It all starts with the green. Andrew and our team are constantly cupping, constantly getting green samples, and that's really where it all starts. You can't take subpar green coffee and make it a great cup of coffee. You just have to have the best green, and we've always been willing to pay for that and support farmers in that way. And then Andrew's approach to roasting is really about bringing out all the flavors inherent in coffee. It's a lot of the same stuff that I feel like a lot of roasters are going for, although we strive for balance. Like, that's a big thing for us. I think a lot of roasters pride themselves in being polarizing. They want to be like very different from everyone, which is totally understandable, but for us, we want the coffees to show well and be sweet and balanced and still have all the complexity that represents their region. Our opening lineup of coffees were like unreal. Like, some of them we still talk about to this day.
Smells good.
We spent a lot of time on the packaging, and the roasting was just spot on from day one. Andrew really knows what he's doing. The level of green coffee was there, and the roasting was there, and I think it made a good impression. With as much as coffee is like there's a coffee for everyone, I think it did reach people in a way that other coffees hadn't up until that point. And it's a ton of luck too. I think we just got really fortunate with being able to get into folks' rotation.
Bellingham isn't a place that's really traditionally been known for having a specialty coffee roaster.
Honestly, all I know about Bellingham is that they have burritos with potatoes in them. That's literally all that you've ever taught me about.
Snowboarding, Mount Baker.
Potato burrito, Camber, which wasn't there when I was there. That's amazing. I wasn't super impressed by that place with the potato burrito.
Casa que pasa.
Yeah, it was just like...
No, we need to finish filming.
Okay.
I used to go somewhere called the Bagelry.
Oh, you took me there too.
The Havarti Bagel? Come on.
I don't know. I don't speak French.
There's been some more old school roasters for quite a while. There's a long history of really good coffee, but just kind of off the beaten path. Onyx Coffee importers, not to be confused with Onyx Coffee Lab, have been set up there for years. I had some like life-altering cups of coffee at their it was a tiny little like Japanese style pour-over bar. And that was just a small operation that was part of a larger importing operation that's run by Edwin Martinez. And then he helped start Primer Coffee, which they have a really nice coffee bar and roasting operation in Bellingham that's been around, I think, for basically like, they started like 6 months or a year before we opened. It's a small town, it's a college town, so it's pretty seasonal. It's a hard place, I think, to have a business for that reason. Like, summers can be kind of lean and it can be unpredictable. There's more stuff opening constantly. Like, there's been a real catalyst, I think, since Primer and since we started. There's been more, but it's still it's still, you know, like a really small group of coffee bars.
They've not only opened a roastery, but a full cafe. And they've already gotten a ton of accolades for their food as well.
It's been fun. We definitely bit off a lot. Full cafe, restaurant. When we opened, our hours were from like 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Full breakfast, lunch, dinner menu, and big staff. And it was ambitious, and I think we've executed really well, but we've also learned a lot and focused a lot more on what we do really well, which is coffee and brunch. Really amazing service, and yeah, our team is amazing and allows us to kind of have like our dream cafe, showcase our coffees, and be constantly getting feedback about how the coffees are tasting, which is really important for us.
Well, it's interesting because two of the founders have background in coffee and one has a culinary background, so it kind of makes sense what they're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
The space just continues to evolve in big ways. Like, we're really focusing a lot of energy on our tea program right now, and our team is always making like crazy good like house sodas and tonics and different shrubs. And we've just kind of scratched the surface in terms of like how many like weird tasty drinks we can come up with in the space. I think we'll be doing a lot more of that heading into summer, since that's when people are usually like feeling like they can like hang out later into the day and try some fun drinks.
Candace, do you know anything about this name, Camber? What does it mean? What's it all about?
It's a mystery. No, actually, he told us.
Oh.
Camber just means curve. For us, it represents like the roast curve, finding the right roast curve for each coffee to bring out all of the sweetness and complexity that it has to offer.
Beyond just the name, and that was super interesting, what can you tell us about their packaging?
We work really closely with Eric Fisher, who's an independent designer out of Seattle. With the original packaging, we were really just going for classic minimalist style that we were really influenced by like wine labels and French wine. And
Yeah, well, this is a wine label, if you feel it.
the label itself is actually the material was sourced from a wine label company. We felt that like that texture, the actual feel of the bag would be really important. It's amazing how like you can see the thickness of paper. It makes a big difference. It just gives it like a rigidity, although it's also makes it super difficult to like ship. We have to like handle it really carefully so it doesn't show up, you know, wrinkled.
Did you say don't make it weird? I'm making it weird.
No, I said it's a wine label.
Oh.
So we've been working with Eric on a new concept for probably over a year. And we've been thinking about it for basically since we started. I was in Foshan, China, visiting our bag manufacturer. I kind of like cobbled together that it was okay for me to, like just while I was waiting, like go through all their filing cabinets. I found this material that was this like thick white linen material, and I loved it. I asked if I could like take a little sample with me. Wanted to incorporate that somehow because we'd already decided on our packaging. So that's going to be the base of the bag, is this thick white linen material. And then we started working with Eric on artwork, and he was working on some like marbling designs at the time, which he was being inspired by like old book binding. Like it's marbling that's used on the inside cover of again traditional book binding, and he really kind of was just wanting to try something new and try something that like had this traditional origin, but he wanted to give it like put his own spin on it, and we just loved it. It was like ethereal and kind of had this like fluid quality, and had like definitely like a natural element, which is a nice through line with like our moon phases that are part of our branding. And so it just like, it was a big departure. It is a big departure, but it just seemed like it also really made sense. And our existing packaging will remain. That will be like our filter offerings, and then we'll have our espresso offerings in the new packaging, as well as like kind of experimental new coffees that we want to play around with.
Just really into the illustration here. They've got this on their mug and some t-shirts, things like that.
I'm going to start using that mug. That's my mug now. It's officially my mug. Camber out of Bellingham, Washington. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying really hard to
You're
be
great.
funny.
No,
Okay,
you're doing
good.
great.
All right,
I'm
cool.
not-
You can edit this.
They
and you
say
can try to make me
that
sound.
part of our charm is
They
the
say.
awkward silence where I don't like when I hear you or whatever. Something. Tell me. All right, I think we're done. Good.